Hello. I just received a summons to appear in court for refusing to wear a mask whilst shopping in Tesco here in Stornoway. It says the charge against you is that on the 22nd of October 2021 at Tesco, Ferry Road, Stornoway, Isle of Lewis, being a building or room used for the retail sale or hire of goods or services, you, Derek Mackenzie, did contravene a requirement of the after-mentioned regulations in that you did enter the said premises there and refuse to wear a face covering, contrary to Regulation 16.1 of the Health Protection Coronavirus Requirements Scotland Regulations 2021. And there's 4 separate charges here, all worded in exactly the same way but with a different date. But the truth is, I did this on far more than 4 occasions. It's kind of a random number, I suppose, maybe. Anyway, the date of when I must appear in court for this is the 15th of next month. That's March, the 15th of March 2022. Yes, there it is. Now, I'll quickly skim over this because obviously I don't want to read every single boring word of it, but just to give you some idea of what I'm talking about here. Event description. The circumstances of this report relates to the accused being asked to leave the locus by police witnesses, and when he failed to do so, he was thereafter arrested and taken to Stornoway Police Station and released on an anti-social fixed penalty for the offence, blah blah, and so on. Yeah, so what happened was, I have a video of this, by the way, which I'll play, because I did film it with my camera while I argued with the police. The long and the short of it is they issued me with a £40 fixed penalty. They arrested me and handcuffed me, took me to the station and issued me with a fixed penalty. So anyway, blah 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 blah, describing what the police were doing and how they came in, entered the shop, and the staff set them on me, sicked them on me, as they would say in America. So, about 23:40 hours, same date, as police witnesses Masson and MacLeod entered the locus, officers were approached by the duty manager, not a witness, who described to officers difficulty they were having with a member of the public being disorderly to staff and refusing to wear a face covering when challenged. Staff asked that officers speak with him and ask him to leave the store. Disorderly to staff. Well, let me describe my disorderliness. Walking into the shop quietly and ignoring the instructions from the staff that I must wear a face mask while I attempted to browse the shelves. That's, in my book, that's not disorderly. That's just passive disobedience to an unreasonable request. Order, in fact. It was an order. Anyway. A short time later, police witnesses Masson and MacLeod engaged with the accused, blah, 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 and so on and so on. The accused began to get more agitated was demanding and abrupt whilst pointing a camera directly into the faces of officers. Well, judge for yourself when you see the video. The accused was educated and explained the legislation he was breaching in terms blah 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 blah. Finally, the accused continued his disorderly conduct. He refused to accept what officers were telling him. He was obstructive, challenging, and hostile, and refused to leave the store after repeated requests, warnings, and instructions to leave the premises. Obstructive. Yeah. Well, again, you can make your own minds up from the video. Continued his disorderly conduct. Well, standing there and speaking with the officers, okay, I might have been adversarial in my interlocution, in my communication with the officers. But isn't the United Kingdom Parliament also adversarial? Maybe even hostile, in a sense, some of them anyway, at times. But anyway, I think hostile is too strong a word altogether for what as a description of my conduct. Not hostile. I mean, certainly I was put out, maybe even annoyed by it, but I was, keeping my reactions, my emotions in check. I was careful not to do anything disorderly, though they enjoy to use the word here. Okay, blah, 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 blah. This goes on and on. About 09:30 hours on Saturday, the 30th of October 2021, the witness Harker has observed the now accused enter the locus. The accused was not wearing a face covering, which is the usual behaviour for the accused. The usual behaviour. Well, I wouldn't describe that as I wouldn't describe the non-wearing of a mask as behaviour. I would simply describe it as passive disobedience to an unreasonable diktat. Passive disobedience, that's what it is. It's not behaviour. Let's see. Hey, there's an interesting bit here. About 18:04 hours on Tuesday, 16th of October 2021, the witnesses MacDonald and Morrison have observed the accused within the locus. The accused was not wearing a face covering. The witnesses MacDonald and Morrison have approached the accused. The witness MacDonald has requested that he wear a face covering. The accused has replied, "I am not of the faith. I don't believe in it." That's what I'm reported to have said. I think what I actually said was, I don't share the faith. I'm not a believer. So I don't share the faith, or this mask wearing faith. That, the idea that wearing a mask somehow reduces the risk, of you contracting the disease, somehow inhibits the virus from entering your airways. Of course it doesn't. You may as well throw a sausage up an alley and say, "Oh look, the sausage is too big to fit up the alley." Not true. Oh yes, the accused has failed to comply with the requests, replying it wasn't the law. Well, again, you'll see that on the video, I argue that. But, I mean, I say that, yes. I am certainly arguing that it's not actually in the law, or it wasn't anyway, at the time anyway. But even if it is law, I'm still of the view that it's, in this situation, the law is an ass, and the law is an unrighteous law. And an unrighteous law, famously, is no law at all. The name of the chap credited with that quote from that is quoting. His name slips from my memory, but it's a well-known enough quote. An unrighteous law is no law at all. I think it might have been, yes, I think it was somebody like Benjamin Franklin or somebody like that. Anyway, okay. Now, this is a bit that the police have added to the end of this, and honestly, it kind of baffles me in a way. Right, it says here, several attempts to trace the accused have been made at his home address. This has proved unsuccessful. The accused has not been formally cautioned and charged. I thought I was cautioned and charged. Anyway, the accused actively avoids the police. Actively? What's that? Everyone does that. Yeah, everyone does that. That's right. So they're trying to make, now they're making a kind of a crime, almost a crime. I mean, they're using this is obviously a negative thing. This is derogatory. This is not a good thing to avoid the police, apparently. What they're actually doing is, what they're saying is that my desire, if I wherever they get this from, I have no idea. It's almost like they have some kind of mind reading device, and maybe as I'm driving past, they switch on the mind reader, and as I'm driving past, they're going, oh yeah, he's trying to avoid us, yep. It comes up on the screen, avoiding, trying to avoid, or is it just their hunch? Oh, I got this hunch, look at him, he's avoiding us. How do they know I'm avoiding them? Is it because I'm not looking at them or something? I do know this, if I ever see past the police on the road, the first, if I see them, the first thing I do is check my speed. Whoa, I don't want to be speeding. I don't want the cops to stop me and charge me with speeding. Well, that's about it. And who does want to who does want the police to approach them at any time? Who does? Is that what they're talking about? I mean, that means everybody in Stornoway is avoiding the police. Everyone in the world. Yeah, everyone in the world. Anyway, it goes on. The accused actively avoids the police and has secured his front door in a fashion that there is no normal front door, just a set of double doors. Okay, I need to explain this a wee bit. At the front, this house, the way it's built, it has a passageway. These are terraced houses where I live here, and some of them have passageways. There are passageways giving you access to the back garden. And this is one of those houses. And there's a bedroom above it. And in the cold, windy weather, this passageway with no doors, they were constructed with no doors or anything, just open. The wind would howl through this and it would become a wind tunnel and chill the bedroom above it. Not only that, there's the added bonus of, I had this idea that I would construct these doors at the front, like they're just like garage doors at the front of the house, so that there's a handle and it's a kind of obvious. The postmen find their way in always, and the postmen are always changing, and they always manage to find their way. They put two together, realize, oh, there's a handle. Oh, all right. Oh, it opens. Oh, good. And they come in and they leave the mail. But for some strange reason, police officers aren't able to figure this out. It's kind of beyond them. I mean, there have been a couple of occasions when police have come here for one reason or another, once or twice, and I've had to help them in. The door, I've seen them walking about out there looking for the door. There was one occasion when I'd left some plasterboard, for instance, up at the council waste disposal site, and the guy was telling me I couldn't leave it there, and I was arguing by saying, well, I pay my council tax, so I'm leaving it here. I don't remember any agreement I made with the council saying I would never leave any plasterboard at the waste disposal site. It's just a waste disposal site for my rubbish. Where are the conditions? Where's the asterisk that, you know, the wee small print, the small print which tells me that, oh, by the way, there's this and that, you can't leave it here. Anyway, the police, they got the police onto me, and it wasn't even a criminal thing, and they got the police onto me, they couldn't find the door. And there was another occasion, I can't remember what it was about, and they were up, might have been, anyway, and they were up, and the same thing happened again. There was once or twice I have seen that. But why is it that the police don't seem to be able to find their way? Anyway, find their way into the door through the. Anyway. Has secured its front door in a fashion that there is no normal front door, just a set of double doors. This prevents normal interaction and attendance. This appears to be something the accused has deliberately done. Well, I didn't accidentally make the doors. I didn't kind of walk out there one day and trip over some wood and it all just flew up into place. No, yeah, I did deliberately make the doors. But it wasn't to keep the cops out. What are you accusing me of here? As in fact, it's one of the benefits of having the double doors there is that the tunnel bit, the access bit outside there under the bedroom is like a workshop area, and you can do stuff out there under shelter without the wind howling through. It is believed he may access the home through a rear door. Well, there is only one door in this house, and it's the front door. And there is no rear door. As soon as you come through the doors that I made at the front of the house, the front door is there, right there. There is no subversive secret entrance to the house. What am I, a terrorist? What picture are they trying to paint here? It's not as if I'm some kind of criminal on the run, you know? I mean, it's not as if I get into trouble with the police. No. But on this, when it comes to this kind of thing, yeah, I'm disobeying the instructions to wear a mask. I admit that. I'll just have to take what's coming. But I believe that this law is so wrong, so completely and utterly wrong. So I'll play the video now. Okay, so you're not forcing me. You're not forcing me to wear a face mask. That's what you're telling me, isn't it?
Well, it's an offence not to wear a face mask in a public place like a shop.
Since when? Who says? I mean, what law am I breaking?
Well, there are regulations in place.
Right, they're not backed by the law. Now, I say here that that it's not that my objection is that there's no law against it. I argue here that it's not against the law, and I ask the police to prove it. But my real objection is a moral one, not a legal one. That even if it is against the law, it's still immoral. It's not according to God's law. It's not morally acceptable. I am under no obligation before God to obey this unreasonable, wrong law. Regulations are not backed by the law. Nobody has the right to force me to wear a face mask.
You can get a fixed penalty for it.
Fixed penalty?
For
Excuse me?
It is an offence. In a public place like this, shops, buses, all that sort of stuff, you're legally obliged to wear a mask unless you've got an exemption. And right now you've not.
Can you prove that to me?
Exemption.
Can you prove that to me?
Well, it's in legislation, Derek.
What legislation?
Well, can.
Should we just get it from a printer from around? We'll just give it to We'll just give you a fixed bill.
But see, the thing is, you can't purchase
fine.
anything here.
Yeah, we'll just give you a
Right,
fixed
okay,
bill.
you give me a fixed bill, I'll finish my shopping.
No,
Well,
you're going to have to leave because the
No,
shop
I
wants
need my
you
shopping. Now, this is an
to-
interesting
You're going to have to shop
point.
somewhere else.
The policeman said to me, you're going to have to get your shopping somewhere else. So what he's in effect doing is sending me somewhere else to do exactly the same thing. And anyway, there's only 2 supermarkets in Stornoway, 2 decent sized ones, Tesco and the Co-op. And you know, they have a monopoly, really. If I can't do my shopping in Tesco, for instance, I have to go to the Co-op, and the Co-op doesn't have the stuff I want, all the things I want. Plus, they're generally a more expensive shop as well. But anyway, carry on.
Because they have asked you to leave.
No, but
because you're not abiding by the rules. Right, it's that simple.
Look, Tesco does not have the right to
Yeah,
force
it's
me
not
to
about
wear a
rights,
face mask.
You know, it's about,
It is about rights.
It's almost about decent
So rights
courtesy,
don't matter
you know.
anymore. So rights don't matter anymore. So my rights,
Who's saying that?
you
I'm not.
you just said it's not about
not about
rights.
rights, it's about
So
what's
rights
in
have
the
been
law.
removed. My right to choose not to wear a face mask. So the policeman here, I mean, I argue about rights, and he says to me that it's not about rights, and then he tells me my rights were removed when the legislation was written. So it is about rights then. Face mask has been removed.
It was removed when the legislation was written, yes.
Right.
So your right to come into a public place like
And the whole point about rights is that they are inalienable. They cannot be removed. You know, you've got the Charter of Human Rights and so on. You know, this is something we've heard much about in today's society. Rights. And by their very nature, they cannot be cancelled or removed. They stand. But yet, this policeman tells me my rights were removed when Nicola Sturgeon, Boris Johnson, and others used their pens. Rights being removed, literally at the stroke of a pen. Let's remember why America, the country of America, was born. It was born through oppression. People fled to America. And then eventually, they fled for things like religious liberty and so on, because they were tired of being dictated to by kings. And then they had the American War of Independence, which was the conclusion of the matter, you might say the bursting of the boil, you might say. The people got to a certain point where they became so tired of the situation of being dictated to and their rights being trampled underfoot that they actually fought a war. You know, and as usual in any kind of situation like that, you've got the two sides, and one side will be accusing the other side of this and that, and vice versa. But generally speaking, you'll have right and wrong. Somebody in a war is more right than the other side. You know, there's a right and a wrong. You know, and here we have this situation where you have this argument. Somebody's right and somebody's wrong. And you see it in politics. We're seeing it right now with the Canadian truckers and that fool Trudeau and other crazy politicians in other parts of the world, like the one in the Australian situation and so on. Austria, it's just craziness. They've got crazy politicians just who don't seem to understand the meaning of rights. These same people will utter they'll talk about rights and people's rights in one breath, and in the next breath, in the next moment, they'll be trampling them underfoot. Hypocrisy and confusion.
Place like a supermarket without a mask. That right was removed.
Excuse me, but you cannot remove rights.
Just like when the right, you don't have a right to assault someone. You don't have the right to.
No. That's a bogus comparison.
You don't have the right to carry a knife in a public place.
Bogus comparison. That's bogus comparison. That is not.
Legislation is legislation.
That's ridiculous. That's an illogical comparison.
In religion, that's subjective. Okay.
It's not subjective. There's a big difference between stabbing somebody and wearing a silly face mask.
They probably didn't like me calling face masks silly, considering they're standing in front of me wearing them, and I'm not wearing one. I'm the sane one, really.
Right? You guys have.
I can tell you the legislation. Do you want me to tell you?
It will make no difference to me at the end of the day because.
No, but it's for your video because you're recording it.
Right, you read it out. You read it out.
So it's the Health Protection Coronavirus Regulations Scotland Act. It's the Regulations 2021. But the other thing is that you're committing an offence if you fail to leave a licensed premises when being requested to do so by a police officer in uniform.
Again.
So I am going to ask you to leave.
Again, that's nonsense again,
Okay.
right?
So are you going to leave?
A licensed premises. Excuse me, but look, I'm here doing my shopping, right?
It's a licensed
And you're talking about, this is garbage. You're talking about licensed premises. I'm doing my shopping here, and I'm not bothering anybody on the face of the earth. And I'm going to be, and I'd have been gone by now. I'd have been literally gone up the road by now. And what are you guys doing? You're just harassing me. This is harassment. Why are you harassing me? Honestly, I hate being. I have the right not to be harassed.
Can we speak for a second?
We speak for a second. I mean, well, it's not easy for me to put this video out into the public domain because it doesn't put me in the best possible light, because you know when you get into that kind of situation where you're a bit stressed with an argumentative situation, and you're arguing a point with two coppers, two police officers, it's not the most relaxing sort of thing in the world. Yeah, but the point is more important, of course, than that. So even though ordinarily I don't like to make something like this public, the issue in hand is more important than my personal feelings in the matter. Well, that's, yeah.
Right, we'll put this as simple as possible, right? First of all, you're committing offence by not wearing the mask in the supermarket, okay? Right, this supermarket is a licensed premises. You have been asked to leave by us because the staff have asked you to leave. If you now refuse to leave, you can now be arrested.
Why?
Are you understanding that?
Yeah, and
okay,
why?
Are you going to leave?
And why?
Are you going to leave then?
Why is this happening?
Are you going to leave?
Why is this happening to me?
Are you going to leave?
Why is this happening?
Are you going to leave?
Look, I've got my shopping trolley here with my shopping. I want to get it done, and I'll be out the door in no time at all.
Simplest thing to do is put a face covering on, finish your shopping, and leave. Right?
Well,
if that doesn't happen, you're going to end up getting a fine, and you're going to get arrested for failing to leave.
Really?
Right? Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear. It's
right,
clear.
And what choice are you going to make?
But I don't want to put a face cover. Are you going to force? You're trying to force me to do that.
What choice are you going to make here?
The choice I'm going to make is to stand by my God-given rights.
Right. So are you going to refuse to do what we're asking you to do?
See that? You're telling me. You told me a few minutes ago that you're not forcing me. This is force.
Right.
You're threatening to arrest me and everything.
Yes.
For not wearing a face mask.
We're giving you a warning that we can arrest you if you refuse to leave.
Yeah. And
okay. Are you understanding that, Derek?
I am understanding that.
Right. Okay. Well, make your decision right now. Are you going to leave or not?
We're giving you that option.
Are you going to leave or not?
You're forcing me to leave.
Derek, are you going to leave or not?
This is this point of the video. This is what what's the term for that? It's the valley of decision. It's decision time. I'm under maximum pressure here. It's closing in on me. They're closing in. Do you know what I mean? Mentally, psychologically, they're closing in. The pressure is building up. Decision time. The valley of decision. And so I am under a lot of pressure to make a decision. Am I going to agree with them and it'll all just evaporate? Am I going to wear a mask or am I going to leave the shop? I can do either of these things and everything will just evaporate. But I can't. I did that before the first time. I mean, this is the second time I had an altercation, if you want to call it that, with the police in Tesco. This is the second time. The first time I went along with it. I went along with it because the guy told me, I asked him what will happen if, he said you'll have to leave the shop. I mean, I was beeping my stuff, a few little things through the self-service. Well, actually there was quite a few things. Anyway, it was at the same time as I made the first video where they were refusing to serve me, and I had because they'd refused to serve me, I had to put everything back into my trolley, take it around to the self-service and start beeping it through the self-service. But because it had taken so much time, the police had enough time to come and challenge me and told me that I'd have to leave the shop. And I said, but I've got to get my shopping. If you don't leave the shop, you'll be arrested. So I thought, I'll just leave the shop. Because I couldn't be, it's just the thought of getting hauled off to jail and, you know, I've got the kids here and there, all the rest of it, you know, me being a single parent. So yeah, that time, okay, I chose the easy option in one sense and just went along with it and everything just evaporated, all the pressure evaporated. But this time I thought to myself, I really can't. You know, I'd thought about that since then. I'd thought about it many times since that first time when I agreed with them and when I went along with it. And I just thought to myself, you know, I thought, well, really, I have to call their bluff. Really, I have to pursue this. I have to refuse to obey them to do this thing properly. Because, you know, as well as anything else, it's an experiment. You have to be experimental in life. You've got to be, in all things. So really, I couldn't allow myself to wimp out like I did the first time, you might call it that. So, no, I'm not.
Right, okay, you're under arrest. Okay.
Well, you don't even cuffs on me. I'll walk out the door.
No. That's what happens when you get arrested.
Oh, do me a favour. Can I at least put my phone in my pocket?
You're under arrest.
Oh,
we're actually more than fair with you as well.
more than fair. Okay.
So you're not obliged to say anything, but anything you do say will be maybe using evidence. You're under arrest for failing to quit licensed premises when being requested to do so.
Oh, really? Well, that's...
Well, I have to say that they weren't bad. I mean, really, these cops. I mean, I don't hold it against them, you know, in that way. I don't. Even though they arrested me and handcuffed me, and the whole thing, of course, was unreasonable because of that, because I shouldn't have been forced by the state or anybody else to do something that I don't want to do, which goes against the golden rule. Have you heard of the golden rule? Well, the golden rule, in case you haven't heard of it, the golden rule is based on the Christian principle of the second table of the law of the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are broken up into two parts. The first part covers our duty towards God, and the second part covers our duty towards our fellow man. Basically, do unto others whatever you would have them do unto you. So treat others the way you would have them treat you. So that is a Christian doctrine, and that's my rule of life with regard to my duty of conduct towards others. Love thy neighbour. So I would never dream of harassing someone for anything. No, it would be wrong. I might see somebody doing something that I don't approve of. I might say something to them. But as soon as I realize that they're not going to listen to me, well, that's it. I've done my bit. I mean, the scriptures cover that in the way Christ sent the disciples out and instructed them to, offer their peace, as it's put, to any person. And if they reject it, then shake the dust off your feet as a testimony to them. So you're not supposed to waste your time arguing with people. In one place it says, on the first and second admonition, reject a heretic or a person that's won't listen. And that's the approach. That's the Christian approach. You will only enter into dialogue if they are willing to enter into dialogue. And as soon as you've discovered that the person won't listen, then it's the right thing to do is to leave. That's your duty, just to go leave them. So that's the rule I go by with regard to this whole situation. They don't have the right, nobody has the right to harass me about anything. Because I'm not doing anything wrong. I have to keep myself within the law, and they have no right to harass me for an opinion. This is merely a matter of opinion. And over matters of opinion, where there's no scientific evidence, no scientific proof of the truth of a matter, it doesn't matter what people say, it doesn't matter what anybody says. There's a lot of talk. This is true, that's true, the next thing is true. Well, that's not proof. Talk has never been proof, and it never will be. But legally speaking, Scottish law is very clear on the matter that nobody is permitted by law. It is illegal in Scotland to harass anyone about their beliefs. So my belief is that wearing a mask is a waste of time. It can do no good for anyone. It will neither protect you nor anyone else. My belief is that it is a waste of time. So you have no right, and you have no right to harass me. No man has the right to harass me over that belief. Thank you. This is a picture of the fixed penalty slip that the police gave me on the night. I think this is an important point because, you'll have seen from the video that the whole argument was about face coverings and my refusal to wear one. And the police officers were adamant that I was breaking the law. Well, if you read this, if you look at this picture of the penalty slip, you'll see that what I was actually convicted or charged with was failing or refusing to leave a licensed premises when requested to do so. Well, I think this proves my point. If there had been a law, certainly at the time, requiring face coverings, why didn't they charge me with my refusal instead of this strange alternative pulled out of a hat like a rabbit? To me, it feels like more like an abuse of the law.